In this video, we will be demonstrating the use of the Metro Automation Engine Wizard. The wizard will walk you through all of the steps of a MetroAE setup. After the completion of the wizard, a customized deployment will be created and all prerequisites will be satisfied. You will then be fully ready to perform a VSP installation or upgrade. The wizard operates in both the Docker container and GitHub repository environments. In the Docker container, the wizard is launched using the command MetroAE Wizard. For those using the repository directly, execute run wizard.py. In this demonstration, we will be using the repository. Let's get into it. The wizard first ensures that the required libraries are present on your system. In our case, we are missing the required PyYAML library. In order to move forward, the wizard provides a prompt for installation. If your system already has the required libraries installed, this step would be skipped and would go directly into the introduction. Also note that a sudo password may be required to be entered for some steps if your system does not have sudoers set up. Let's continue with the library install. Now that the libraries required for the wizard are installed, we see the introduction display. All of the required steps are listed out in a preliminary summary. At each step along the way, the wizard will allow you to continue, go back to the previous step, skip the step, or quit the wizard entirely. At the end of each step, any changes made are saved, therefore it is safe to quit the wizard at any point. Let's continue with the current step of the MetroAE library installation. Our host is missing some libraries that are required by MetroAE. The wizard can install these for us. Outside of the wizard, this can be accomplished using sudo metrosetup.sh. Let's continue. Great! All of the required libraries are installed. We can now unzip our VSP component image files. These files are available on OLCS ALED at the link provided. They will need to be copied to a directory on your host. We will enter the directory that contains the zipped image files and the directory where the files should be unzipped to. Files are unzipped. We can move on. At this point, we will create a deployment. Deployment is a kind of configuration set for MetroAE. It is a collection of YAML files describing the parameters of the VSP components to be installed or upgraded. The deployment name entered will be used to create a directory. By using different deployment names and thus different directories, multiple sets of component configurations can be defined for various projects. A default deployment is provided with the MetroAE package, which has example components. For this demonstration, we will create a new deployment wizard demo. The first configuration file to be created in our new deployment is the common.yaml file. This contains global parameters common to all VSP components. In common.yaml, we need to specify the directory where the unzipped images are stored. The wizard remembered the unzipped images directory from the unzip step and is providing it as a default value. We can just press enter to take the default. We will choose KVM as the hypervisor type for our demonstration deployment. Network bridges are required on the hypervisors for the VSP components to communicate with each other and the outside. MetroAE will not create these, and neither will the wizard. They will need to be configured ahead of time on the hypervisors. DNS and NTP servers are also required for MetroAE to operate. If the DNS server already has your VSP component host names present, then they will be auto-discovered by the wizard and used to fill out required fields. We will set up the DNS parameters now. We need the fully qualified domain name for the VSD. If clustered, this is normally XMPP. Otherwise, if standalone, use the FQDN of the single VSD. Now we can enter the IP addresses in dotted decimal format of the DNS servers. If there are multiple, they can each be entered separated by commas. Similar to DNS, the NTP servers also need to be specified. Okay, common.yaml is complete and has been written to disk in our wizard demo deployment. Note that if we were to quit and rerun the wizard now, this step could safely be skipped. We can move on. This step will set up a VSP upgrade. If you're only going to do an install and not an upgrade, this step can be skipped. For demonstration purposes, we're going to perform an upgrade. The current running VSP version and the version to upgrade to are required for MetroAE to properly upgrade. We'll enter those now. The upgrade.yaml deployment file has been written. Next is the VSD components. Each component can be in a high availability cluster or standalone. We're going to choose standalone for brevity. If we had chosen a cluster, the remaining fields we fill out would be repeated 3 times, 1 for each of the cluster VSDs. We'll need the DNS hostname for the first VSD. Since the wizard already knows the domain is .example.met, we can just press enter to take the default of vsd1.example.met. The VM name will be the KVM stack name. We can also take the default here. The upgrade name will be the stack name for the upgraded VSD. It has to be different than the VM name. We can take the default here too. Note that since we had already had entries in DNS for the components, the IP addresses got auto-discovered. Nice. Defaults all around. We now need to enter the IP address of the hypervisor that will be hosting the VSD VM. I am just going to use localhost for demonstration. All right, the VSDs are done. On to VSCs. The VSCs are exactly the same as the VSDs, except that the clusters contain 2 components, and there's a system IP address for routing. We'll just blow through this with defaults. The hypervisor address was remembered from the VSDs. We could change it if the VSCs were hosted elsewhere, but no need for that here. Now we are at the Elasticsearch components. In MetroAE, these are referred to as VSD statistics or VSTATs. VSTATs are clustered in sets of 3 like the VSDs. We're going to cruise through this one as well with all defaults. Finally, we will be setting up the hypervisors. This step will set up passwordless SSH, which is required for MetroAE to operate. The hypervisor addresses were collected from the components in earlier steps. We need to enter the username that is used to SSH into the hypervisors. Passwordless SSH will now be configured on each hypervisor. This usually requires prompting for a password, but our host is already set up. And now SSH connectivity and the network bridges we had entered earlier in the wizard will be verified. Awesome! All the steps have been successfully performed. We could use this opportunity to go back and repeat any steps that we wanted to change, but we got everything right this go through, so we can just quit. Now MetroAE is fully ready to upgrade your system. The command to start the process is provided by the wizard. Thank you and happy automating.